Hello, everyone. Welcome to our virtual tour of Teachers College. We're so excited to have you here today and get to kind of show you around campus, virtually, of course, and talk a little bit about our experiences here at TC as a student, the resources available to you here, the history, and everything else in between. So we're going to do the tour section of it, and then we'll leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. I'm going to go over some housekeeping items, and then we'll do a couple of brief introductions first. So just want to point your attention to the Q&A feature in your Zoom toolbar. This is going to be where you can submit any and all questions that you have for myself and Kiana throughout the tour. And we'll leave about, hopefully we'll get 10 to 15 minutes at the end to answer as many of those as we can. So please use the Q&A feature to do that. And if you're feeling up to it, we'd love to get to know who our audience is today. So if you could use the Q&A feature to submit to us where you're tuning in from today and the program that you're interested in here at TC, we'd love to see where everyone is, in our audience today and what programs you're interested in. We have so many here at TC, so we often see a wide variety of them present at events like this. So again, please use the Q&A to do that. I would love to see where y'all are tuning in from and your programs of interest. So while you do that, I also want to make note that this is going to be an anonymous feature. So while we can see your submissions on our end, y'all cannot see each other's, but rest assured that we can see them ourselves, as well as this session is being recorded. So should you need access to the recording, if you have created an application already, it will be located in your TC Pathway portal there, but you can also reach out to us and we can provide the link to the recording as well. I'm going to go ahead and take a peek here at the people we have. We got Kiana. Actually, why don't you go ahead and read those off for me? We'll get Kiana involved here.
So we have a few people from Brazil, some from Pakistan that's in the clinical psychology program. We have a local for NYC teaching social studies. Another local from New York, the program they're in is the social studies. One from New Jersey, they're interested in the SLP program. One from India, clinical psychology, Chicago, and another one from New York.
Awesome, cool. So like I said, lots of different places represented, different programs represented. So please keep those coming. We do love to see who is joining us today. If you do experience any sort of technical difficulties throughout the presentation, you can utilize the chat resource for that. But primarily, please submit your questions through the Q&A, please. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started and start off with some introductions. So my name is Taylor. I am the Admission Experience Specialist in the Office of Admission here at TC. I'm also a proud alum of our Nutrition Education program, and I was also a student ambassador during my time in the program. So like to think I bring a wide range of perspectives, to the table, seen a lot of different roles in the office and as a student as well. And I'll pass it off to Kiana to give a brief introduction as well.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kiana. I'm a student ambassador here at the admissions office, and I'm a second year in my program, and I'm in the speech pathology program. So I'll be graduating in May, so very, very soon. And I'm originally from California. I moved to New York actually a year ago, so very exciting. So let's just get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Kiana. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive in, y'all. Here we go. So welcome to Teachers College. Picture it, you're outside. It's maybe a crisp fall day. I'm not so sure what the temperature is out today, but we'll pretend nonetheless. We are kind of at the main steps here. Before we go into more about the physical tour and the buildings and whatnot, I figured it would be good to give a little bit of a history lesson as well. So Teachers College was founded in 1887 by Grace Dodge and Nicholas Butler with the goal of educating teachers for their newly diverse classrooms. So around this time in the late 1800s, the city of New York was seeing a large influx of immigrant families, and with their families came their children who needed to enter our school systems, which was really an exciting time for us and our education system and our teachers. However, the teachers felt like they just did not have the right tools and knowledge to be able to give those students from different walks of life and backgrounds the best well-rounded education that they possibly could. So that's kind of where we got our starting. Today, we have evolved to an institution with over 120 programs spanning across 3 pillars, health, psychology, and education. So we're not just a teacher institution anymore. While that is a big chunk of what we are, we do have programs in those other pillars as well. So talking a little bit about the physical campus, there are 7 interconnected buildings. But it's known as a bit of a maze because each building was built at different times. So the floors don't necessarily like line up. So you could be taking the stairs out of one building from like the 4th floor, but then you enter the 2nd floor of the building next to it. It's very confusing. Lots of unexpected twists and turns, but rest assured there is lots of great signs in TC. Definitely have always had a screenshot of a campus map on me at all times, but you'll know that you've entered a new building for a few different reasons. So usually the floor will change, different pattern, different color, something. The temperature shifts usually as well. It might get colder or warmer. And the smell, I've noticed, is something that does shift between building to building. So as we kind of navigate between these pictures and different buildings, just kind of picture it in your mind, going into a different building, feeling colder or warmer and smelling something different. All right, so we're going to go ahead and enter TC now. So we are here in Zankel Hall. This is kind of known as our main hall, as it does have one of our 2 main security desks here on campus. So there's only 2 entrances to campus. And this one in Zankel Hall is the one that is open 24/7, that is guarded 24/7, keeping us safe. So good to make a note of. There's lots of different things going on in Zankel. It is home to program offices, classroom spaces, other administrative offices. Some things we like to make note of are 2 very interactive student spaces that I'll talk about a little bit next. But nonetheless, lots going on. Very likely you could have a class in here as well. We like to make note of this bust here on the left-hand side. This is Sir John Dewey. He was a famous American philosopher and education philosopher who was actually a faculty member here at TC back in the day. So he is kind of seen as a symbol of knowledge and luck. So if you give his head a little bit of a pat, the legend has it that you will obtain some sort of luck. So you might see students on their way to an exam or on their way to a presentation kind of give his head a little pat or a rub and be on their merry way. So something really unique, and special here at TC is kind of a tradition, if you will. So I mentioned that there were some interactive student spaces here on our campus in Zankel Hall specifically. So those 2 are Everett Lounge and Everett Cafe. Everett Lounge was actually a space here on the left that was meant to become administrative offices at some point. And the students felt very strongly that they would most benefit from the space if it remained a space for the students. So they voiced their concerns to the administration, and the administration was super receptive to that and ultimately let us keep this as a space for us as students. So I think that really goes to show a prime example of the relationship that students and faculty and administration have here. They're really open to whatever we have to say, what our wants, what our needs, our concerns are, and really are willing to work with us to make sure we're getting that and whatever we need to really enhance our experience as students. So Everett Lounge is used for a wide variety of things. It's always open typically when there's not events in there. So you can see there's tables in there. You can either study in there or you could have lunch in there or whatever, just hang out. There's some desks in the corners as well. And the couches here as well are very comfortable. But a lot of times it is used as an event space. So you might see like teacher education workshops in there. I've seen yoga classes happen in there. We had an admitted student happy hour event this past summer, actually, that was held in here, which was really fun. So sometimes there will be events with some free food and drink, maybe even a free glass of wine. So definitely recommend checking out the event if it's something that they're open to the public. You didn't have to register for it because you might get a free snack. So that's really cool. And then the other interactive student space I mentioned is Everett Cafe here, which is just down the hall from Everett Lounge. And this is kind of our on-campus coffee shop, if you will. So aside from serving coffee, there's also some grab and go snacks and little meals as well. So one of the places that you can get food here on campus, and we'll talk about the dining hall in a little bit as well. But it's also just a great space to meet with peers for group work or just to hang out in between classes. If you want to just go there and get homework done, I love a good coffee shop. homework environment. So I was here often, smelling the coffee, hearing the hustle and bustle around me, and, listening to some smooth jazz as I was doing some homework. But you could also meet with professors here as well, to talk about research or your interest or an assignment or whatever. So it's a really great multi-purpose space. The music department will actually often put on musical performances outside of the Everett Cafe. One time I was coming down from the library and I kind of ran in, I believe it was the holidays actually. I kind of ran into like this string quartet playing Christmas songs or holiday music, and I was on my way to class, and I remember just taking a moment to kind of stand there and take in the scenery and the music and the festive vibes. So it was really a moment to remember for me. So they always have something going on outside of Everett Cafe. All right, so we have kind of we're still in the same building, but we're kind of shifting to more of the main part of this area. So this is going to be Russell Hall. This is the home of our library. So going to be pretty much the only way to identify Russell Hall. No one's really ever talking about Russell unless it's for the library. So something to make note of. So our library is one of the largest educational libraries in the country. We're talking millions and millions of volumes of things and resources and all of that. It's actually comprised of 5 floors. So the first floor is kind of the main floor. That's where our librarians are situated. We have a printing station there as well. There's also some study rooms on this floor, and the second and third floor you can rent out online as a student free of charge for group work, to do an interview, to practice a presentation. I was doing lots of group study sessions in those, so those are really excellent. And actually in the back corner of the first floor of the library is a cluster of treadmill desks. So our neuroscience department actually did a study and found that we retain more information when we're in motion. So they thought, why don't we implement that here for our students since they are in need of retaining information? So they put a cluster of treadmill desks back there. So you'll often see students, getting their steps in as they're studying or reading or whatnot, and a really fun way to switch up, your study habits. The second floor of our library is our collaborative space. So I like to say there's basically however you like to study in terms of sitting comfortably or like however you like to be physically situated, they have to accommodate that on the second floor. So they have these puzzle piece desks that, you can move around to collaborate with. They also have like kind of higher desks, shorter desks. They also have like a section of like plush toys. There was like a big teddy bear at one point in there if you're into the floor studying kind of situation, or if you just want to take a nap, whatever you need it for. But the second floor is a really great space to go to if you have to meet with a group for anything. The third floor, though, which is pictured here on the right, is the silent floor, So would definitely not recommend opening a bag of chips up here. You would definitely get some, certain glances. So if you really need that silent space, this is going to be a great place for you to go to. There's also some study rooms up here. And then the fourth and fifth floor are stacks as well. Cool. So here's a couple of more pictures. You can see here, this is some of the computers that you can use on the first floor. And this is on the third floor as well. This door right here is actually into one of the study rooms. So it's cool that you can see a little computer or like a little iPad type of system here that'll show you when the room has been booked. So if it's not booked, you can usually just go in there and, you'll just have to respectfully leave if there is a reservation in there at a certain time, but you can usually see the schedule here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Kiana.
Thank you, Taylor. So now we are at Grace Dodge Hall, which was originally called the Housing Arts Building. And this reflected the programs that were offered in the early days of TC, such as butter churning, cooking, interior design. Today, Grace Dodge Hall has tons of classes across all departments, as well as our dining hall, secret study spaces, our post office, and home to our technology services. If you look at the slide picture on the right side of the screen, you can see a brief glance of the original tile depicting some illustrations such as sewing, spinning, churning, weaving, and cooking. So let's move on to our next slide. We're going to move on to the Grace Dining Hall, So this is one of the 3 preserved original spaces at TC, our dining hall, which is a very popular place to study, meet new friends. AVI, who are our dining services provider, offers a variety of menus such as breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, or anytime in between. Does this space remind anyone of a specific film or movie? So many of our students actually refer to this place as Hogwarts, which fans will likely understand, as we can tell from the ceiling and the decorations. There's also a piano in the corner that is open for anyone to play. Often you'll be lucky enough to hear our music students practicing for an upcoming concert, but sometimes you'll hear a young child from one of our preschools on campus playing the piano. Both create a distinct atmosphere for you to enjoy your meal. Next slide, please. Here we have Russell Courtyard in between the 7 buildings of TC. When it's warm outside, you definitely will find tons of students studying out here, meeting with professors, or participating in all kinds of events such as barbecues, ice cream socials, scavenger hunts, and a fall carnival kickoff. Next slide, please. Here we have Whittier Hall. So when you're actually standing in the courtyard, you have a great view of Whittier Hall, which is one of our 4 housing options. Our 4 residential buildings offer suite style spaces, studios, and family housing. Each building has a resident staff who organizes community events so that you get to know your neighbors and, of course, have some fun. For example, they organize courtyard karaoke, paint and sip nights, speed friending, and more. Whittier offers study lounges, a small gym, and a laundry on site. But perhaps the best thing about it is that it's connected directly to TC, meaning in the winter, you don't have to actually go outside. Located on the first floor at Whittier is actually our security office, our International Student Services Office, TC Press, and the Office of Residential Services. So you can go learn more about the housing options by visiting our website at www.tc.edu/housing. Next slide, please. And here, although many of our classrooms have their own unique character, especially depending on what building you are located in, these are just some of our typically new classrooms at TC. They're equipped with whiteboards, Wi-Fi, and engaging technologies to enhance our students' learning. So I'll just take this time to discuss what a class schedule at TC might look like. Please note that this will vary by program, but most classes are held Monday to Thursday, once a week for an hour and 40 minutes. There are daytime classes offered, but we also have many evening classes offered since many of our students like to work. So the popular times are around 5 through 7 and 7 to 9 p.m. As a second year in the SLP program, all my classes are from 5 to 9, basically. So although our students and classes are now back in person, many programs still offer a limited online classes. So online courses may be synchronous, which means that there's like meeting specific times on a virtual platform each week, or asynchronous, which classes don't really meet online at a specific time, but instead allow for a more flexibility. So students are welcome to watch recorded lectures, respond to their peers on discussion posts, and complete homework assignments, whatever is possible for what's best for their schedule. So class sizes typically vary between 8 to 30 students. Homework can also vary by program, but graduate school often asks students to do a lot of group work, presentations, and paper writing. So be prepared to collaborate with your peers. And faculty are usually extremely accessible. Many give out their personal phone numbers or even invite students out for coffee and chat about their coursework. Next slide, please. So one of the greatest things about TC is the blend of history with innovation on campus. As you just saw one of our modern classrooms, it's also fun to know that there are truly historical spaces we have on campus as well. This is a Tudor dining hall. It's the second of the 3rd originally preserved spaces on campus. It's a glimpse into our history, specifically our home economic days. This room was considered as a table service lab and was used to teach students how to host basically like elite guests in dining settings. It had a full working kitchen. Today is open to students as a unique space to just study and hang out. And there are a few classes that meet here as well. and I will pass it off to Taylor.
Thanks, Kiana. All right, so Kiana kind of talked a little bit about what it looks like to be a student here in terms of classrooms, some of our historical spaces, all the things. And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on beyond the classroom. That's something really true to TC across all programs I've seen, is that we really want to be emphasizing the relationship between theory and practice. So with that being said, it's really important that you have opportunities as a student to be able to apply what you're learning in the classroom walls into real world settings beyond the classroom. So we have a couple, many different centers. We have over 50 prestigious research centers, labs, and institutes to get involved in, but some, just to name a few, that really are examples of applying research and practice and theory all together are our Dean Hope Center and our Rita Gold Early Childhood Center. The Dean Hope Center is our on-campus counseling center, so students in programs that need to get clinical hours in that and experience hours, this is a place for them to do that, as well as our Rita Gold Early Childhood Center. This is our on-campus childhood center as well. So students in those types of programs get to work with the kids, get to apply what they're learning in the classroom into real scenarios, in the Rita Gold Early Childhood Center. Some other examples of these types of clinics and labs and institutes include our Edward Mysack Clinic, which I'm sure Kiana is way more familiar with than I am. That is our on-campus speech clinic. So students in that program get to, get some clinical hours in there, get to utilize that space to apply what they're learning in the classroom. So there's something really for everyone. I definitely recommend looking on our website, looking on your program of interest website to kind of see what that connection is for that program. Did they have an institute or a center or a lab that they have for their students often, or they might have connections to other things as well for you to kind of apply what you're interested in, to practice in the real world. All right, so we're moving into a new building. Kind of, not really, but kind of. We're also going to be talking a little bit about enrollment management, as we're a cluster of offices that are pretty significant, I would say, in your process of becoming a student here. So we're in building 528 or 528. I kind of switch up how I'm saying it. So either way, and this is home to a lot of different purposes. We do have centers and labs, like the Dean Hope Center is located in this building. So that's why we didn't really move buildings, but kind of. And also there's department offices, like our biobehavioral sciences department is here. Our nutrition program has their office here as well. But also something really worthy of noting on the third floor here is enrollment management suite. So what makes up enrollment management is us in the Office of Admission, the Office of Financial Aid, and the Office of the Registrar. So all really integral components of the back end stuff of what it takes to become a student here. So in admissions, you can connect with us to talk about your program of interest, your application requirements. We have admission liaisons that work with specific departments that you can connect with to discuss the status of your materials, any specific questions you have about the program. We're also just here for any sort of help and guidance you might need. Financial aid is where you can go to ask questions about funding, scholarships, and anything else in between. If you have questions about filling out the FAFSA, work study, any other external scholarships and funding, they're your go-to for that. So definitely recommend connecting with them for any funding related questions. And then the Office of the Registrar, you would most likely be using, as a student for class registration. They also take care of things like degree conferrals and transcripts and such when you are a student here. So lots of really important offices here in building 528. So definitely don't be shy. We are on the third floor. If you just take the elevator up to the third floor, the elevator's open, and you essentially run into this desk right here. So pretty hard to miss us. All right, so always like to talk a little bit more about what's going on outside of the classroom. That really is going to enrich your life as a student here as well. So our Office of Graduate Student Life and Development is really dedicated a lot of efforts to providing opportunities to really enrich that student experience for you outside of the classroom. So something we like to make mention of for them is that they do something called the Passport to Museums. This is going to be just a small sticker on your TC ID that is going to give you free or reduced admission to so many museums and attractions across the 5 boroughs of New York. They have a full list of this on the website, so I definitely recommend checking that out. But a really great opportunity to get off campus, and as a student, you really got to be milking these student discounts. So this is a great way to do it and see the city. We also have our 40 student-run organizations housed under the Graduate Student Life and Development Office, ranging from a wide variety of topics and interests and passions. And something very cool about being a TC Columbia student is that you have access to Columbia's student organizations as well. So if there's something on TC's campus that doesn't really suit your fancy or interests, or you're looking for something different, you can also check out Columbia's main campus organizations and see what they have over there. You can also work with GSLD to start a club if there's something that you want to see on TC's campus and we don't have it. They can help you do that as well. Our Student Senate is housed in this area as well. Our Student Senate is essentially like our student government. If you were ever interested in doing that, it's a really excellent way to kind of act as a liaison between the staff and faculty of TC as well as the students, and really voice, on behalf of the student body. They do a lot of wonderful initiatives. They were able to get a lot of water bottle filling stations around campus, which is awesome. So lots of cool things going on at Student Senate. Definitely recommend checking them out if you're interested. And then you can see a picture here of Russell Courtyard. They are always doing events. GSLD is always doing events, whether it's on campus or off campus, but they'll do things in Russell Courtyard as well. Some other offices I like to make note of in this kind of section as well, kind of under the student life umbrella, is our Graduate Writing Center, which is a really excellent resource for all of our students. It's grad school. No matter what program you're in, you're probably going to be writing a lot. So definitely important to take advantage of them as a support. They can review your papers, meet with you regarding generating paper ideas, doing all of the things that can support you. They do writing workshops, all that kind of stuff. Another office worth noting as well is our TC Next office, which is our career services office, and hence the clever title. They're really dedicated to helping you think about what's next for you at TC. And I know that can be kind of daunting as you're just a prospective student and, you're just getting your toes wet here thinking about TC, but they really are dedicated to our students and helping them, pick coursework or career opportunities to kind of best equip them for where they want to be after TC. But they also do things like mock interviews, cover letter reviews, resume reviews. They do employer career fairs. They have all these different resources that I recommend, utilizing. You can meet with their career counselors. They have a very extensive networking database to pull from as well. And something really unique to TC, I feel, is that the opportunities and resources of TC Next are available to you as an alum of Teachers College, which I think is a prime example of TC's dedication to us. When you choose to go to grad school, it's an investment in yourself. You're choosing to pursue higher education and better yourself as a future professional. And I think TC being there for us post-grad is an example of that. TC is also invested in us back and wanting us to feel supported and best equipped for our futures. So lots going on here as a student and opportunities to kind of enrich your experience. All right, so we're moving into another building. We're now in Horace Mann Hall, which is named after a major educational reformer. You guessed it, his name was Horace Mann. Very clever. And Horace Mann Hall was actually one of our original teaching schools here at TC. So actually there's a doorway in this building that is not one of the 2 entrances to campus that I mentioned earlier, but we might open it for special occasions, events and whatnot. But over the doorway, it still says elementary school on there. So I also will say in a physical tour, you would be able to smell it. But since we're saying when you change buildings, you might smell something different. I'm telling you, Horace Mann Hall always smells like burnt crayons to me. So it still has the elementary school feel to it. It smells like it. The walls feel like it. You're getting that vibe. So our history is still preserved there for sure. What it it serves as today is just a lot of classroom spaces. I've had many classes in Horace Mann. There's a computer lab on the second floor with a bunch of other computers. You know, if you don't want to work in the library, you can work there. Those computers have different softwares on them. I've had to use nutrition softwares before on those computers for class before in my nutrition program. They also have printers up there as well, but the main printing is usually in the library in Gottsman Library. And they also have people up there, you know, librarians and tech assistants to kind of help you with whatever you might need. And thanks to, you know, our student senate, you actually get to access Rosetta Stone for free in this computer lab. So if you have any free time in between all the things that you do as a graduate student and want to pick up another language, this is going to be the place to do it. So lots of cool stuff happening in Horace Mann. And you see here some doors to the Cowan Center, which I'm going to talk about now, which is also located in Horace Mann. So the Cowan Center is our largest like on-campus auditorium event space. It's 2 stories. So you can see here, it's very, very large, you know, extravagant type of space, but you would never have a class in here because it's just far too big. You know, at TC, we really only have a student body of around 5,000, maybe 5,500 at a time because we're a graduate only institution. So naturally your programs are going to be a little smaller. The classes are going to be a little smaller. I know Kiana mentioned kind of the class size. So they're smaller. So you would never be in here for a lecture. It kind of gives me flashbacks to like my biology and chemistry 101 classes from undergrad. So you would never have a situation like that here at TC. But nonetheless, it's a really great event space that we use for things like our open houses, which we do have some coming up in the fall. Keep an eye out on our website as we begin to publish those to register for. We do have an in-person one this year. So definitely recommend coming and saying hi to all of us. So you can keep your eye out on our events page for that. We also do something called an academic festival in here. I believe they're bringing it back this year in November, which is exciting, back in person at least. We've had some very prestigious speakers come and speak to us. We've had Lady Gaga's mom, Cynthia Germanata, come and speak about the Born This Way Foundation. Goldie Hawn has come to speak. Spike Lee has come to premiere his, at the time, a new documentary here. We've also had Obama and McCain's educational advisors here to have a little debate. So lots of really amazing, distinguished guests coming to speak to our students, and you usually have access to all of them as a student here at TC. So definitely a lot of cool stuff happening in the space. It's also usually unlocked, you know, as a grad student, the staff and faculty trust us. We're all adults here. So most of these spaces are unlocked if they're not being used for something. So the Cowan Center has been unlocked before. You know, it's usually a dark, cool, quiet space. So you can go in there to kind of do homework, hang out, take a nap. I've seen people do that too. There's usually also one of the other pianos on our campus that we have on the stage here as well. So you could also tickle the ivories if you felt so inclined. So really a space for you, you know, when it's not being used as an event space. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Kiana to kind of talk all about Thompson Hall.
So perpendicularly connected to Horace Mann, which Taylor mentioned, is Thompson Hall. So this was founded in 1894, and it was the first athletic facility in the Morningside Heights. And it was meant to provide an advanced physical education for the facilities for women, since women were not originally allowed to use the Columbia University athletic facilities at that time. Classrooms, labs, exam rooms are also located here for those who wanted to learn to teach physical education. And while facilities have mostly been transformed into new classrooms and offices today, the commitment to physical education is still present at TC through many of our programs, such as applied physiology, motor learning, kinesiology, movement sciences, and health and nutrition programs. Next slide, please. So we're still at Thompson Hall. So what we can see here is the history of the building through the original stone artwork. Both with the discussed Thrower statue on the last slide and with the panels by Domingo Mora you see here. These panels depict the history of physical education and are meant to motivate people to work out. There is still a full track actually in existence within the building today. It hovers over the layout of office cubicles. In the basement of the building is actually New York City's oldest swimming pool, but unfortunately it's been closed down for several years. And right across from these panels, you would find our bursar's office, which often gets confused with financial aid, understandably, since they both work with money. But the bursar office is where you come to pay your bills, while the financial aid is where you go if you have any questions about funding. So although you may often be coming here to pay your bills, the good news is that you can also pick up half off AMC movie tickets during your visit. They sell those year round. And also if you are feeling a little sad that you just paid a tuition bill, you can cheer yourself up by catching up a good movie afterwards. So we'll be moving on to our breezeway. So the breezeway is a small outdoor pathway connecting Thompson Hall and Hall, one of the only times you have to walk outside in the winter. This place is great if you really appreciate the details and of the architecture of Teachers College. I invite you to take note of the stained glass windows, swooping archways, and lantern towers. TC was designed in a collegiate Gothic style, which is modeled after Oxford and Cambridge. If you look through the archway, you can also see that it is our other entrance, and by security at night, this gate is closed and the doors are locked, so visitors must enter through the main doors in Zankel, which was mentioned earlier on our tour. Finally, also looking through the archway, the building directly in front of us is part of the main Columbia campus. So you can see how close we are to it. Teachers College is Columbia's University Graduate School of Education, so TC gets the best of both worlds. Our campus provides us with resources that are fully directed towards our city, but we can also easily go across the street and become immersed in a huge network of opportunities. For example, the Dodge Fitness Center is right across the street, and many TC students come here. They have tons of like gym memberships and opportunities. There is also a bus system that transports students all over campus, which I personally take because I no longer live on campus, which is really great if you want to avoid paying a bus fare or if you don't want to take the subway. And TC students often get involved in main campus clubs, sports teams, singing groups, and even cross-register for classes at different Columbia schools. So now we're gonna move on to the Milbank Chapel. So from the breezeway, we'll swing back into Zankel to come to a full circle on our virtual tour. Right next to the side of the entrance, you'll find many students' favorite space on campus and appreciate the historical roots of TC, which is Milbank Chapel. So Milbank is actually the third place on our campus that has been preserved in its original estate. So we've mentioned Grace Dodge Dining Hall, as well as Tudor Room. So Milbank Chapel was built in 1987, and this chapel is one of New York City's most beautiful surviving late 19th century interiors. The stencil of the green and gold you can see lining the walls was designed by Tiffany Glass and Decorating Company. Also towards the back of the photo, you'll see 5 stained glass windows. They each represent art, literature, science, and the Old New Testament. Today, it's used for classes, presentations, monthly comedy nights, movie screenings, and more. So we're gonna move on to our Office of Diversity and Affairs. So just down the hall from Milbank Chapel is our Office of Diversity and Community Affairs, led by Dr. Janice Robinson. This office provides a wealth of resources to our campus, including a lactation room, meditation rooms, events focusing on the LGBTQA community, training sessions on advocacy, and of course, much, much more. Besides promoting dialogue and celebration across campus, this office also acts as a safe space to discuss any diversity and community-related questions and concerns students and faculty may have. Although this office is dedicated to diversity, as indicated from its title, the passion for equity and inclusivity runs deeply through all of our offices and community members at TC. So TC encourages all members of our TC family to become active advocates and also participate in values and initiatives. So we just want to say thank you for joining us on our virtual tour today. So Taylor and I will be basically just wrapping up our virtual tour, and we would love to share a bit more about why we decided to pursue our graduate education at TC. So I'll start first and then I can pass it off to Taylor. So as I previously mentioned before, I'm from California. I went to undergrad there. I'm from a very small town, and I also went to a very small undergraduate. So for my graduate journey, I really wanted to explore the city, meet new people, and network. So that's why I applied to TC. And as I mentioned already, I'm also in the SLP program, and TC is very well known for the SLP program, especially with the types of opportunities, labs, the MySAC clinic, and also the professors that we have. And one of the things that really attracted me to TC was I actually joined one of like the virtual admission sessions for my program, and the professor was just so welcoming, very easy to reach, and especially as someone who is not originally from New York, I was of course a bit scared moving here. So kind of having that kind of like kind of just knowing the professors are here for me made me feel very welcome in this new city and also at TC. So what about you, Taylor?
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Kiana. Yeah, so I am from Syracuse, New York originally. I went to Syracuse University for my undergrad. So I think it was safe to say I was really anxious to finally break free of the area code I had lived in for many, many years. So my biggest draw to TC originally outside of my program was just the prospect of studying in New York City. I grew up coming to the city pretty often, on weekend trips with family or friends or whatever, as it's only 4 hours from Syracuse. So I knew I wanted to spend some portion of my life in New York. And I thought grad school is a really excellent opportunity to do that as I kind of navigate my way as an adult in this world and get to better further my education, and do so in such a diverse, rich city like New York. You just can't beat that type of experience truly by pursuing graduate studies in any other place. But aside from, wanting to be in New York super badly, the nutrition education program here at TC was the first of its kind. They really pioneered nutrition education and what that kind of program means and what that field means. So knowing it has such deep roots in the field I was interested in, and really incredible faculty that are so knowledgeable and intelligent and super personable as well. All of those things really created, a very easy desire to want to be here at TC. So, I've been here longer than I was even supposed to as a student. So I think that should show you just how much, TC means to me and how much I've enjoyed my experience here. So that's a little bit about mine. So before we kind of get into our Q&A portion, just want to provide some additional contact information. So of course, we have our normal admission@tc.columbia.edu email, which is our general inbox. We also have a TC student at tc.columbia.edu email address, which is located here on the screen. This is an email inbox that is run by our student ambassadors alone. I don't touch that. That is a student ambassador situation. And it's really a great place to connect with them if you see that you're in the same program as them, if you see that they went to the same undergrad as you, or they're from the same space, or connect with them in any way, and want to just connect with them. Also, if you just want to speak with any of them just about the student experience in general, or living in New York, moving to New York, all the things, this is a really excellent place to just connect with them directly. I will give a preface that our current website is not updated as we are in the process of hiring and training a big, large group of new ambassadors. So we have new faces coming into our office, programs represented. So we're very excited. I will say right now we have Kiana in our CSD program, as well as Owen, who is in our music education program. So if those programs in particular are something you're interested in, I definitely recommend contacting them through the TC student email. Just make sure you put whatever ambassador's name you're interested in connecting with in the subject line so they know to get to that email. And in the future, you can definitely reach out to that email for just general questions as well regarding student stuff. If you're looking to connect with a specific student in a program you're interested in that isn't covered by our student ambassadors, I would recommend reaching out to your admission liaison or the program directly to kind of inquire about how you would go about connecting with a current student. Because unfortunately, even though we have a large group of student ambassadors, there are so many programs here at TC, we couldn't possibly cover every single one of them. So we do our best, but definitely reach out if you're interested in that. All right, is that it? I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'm also going to put in the chat our general admission inbox as well. Just for any general questions, you're welcome to send them there. And Kiana, if you want to go ahead and sift through some Q&As, reminder to all of our participants here to use the Q&A feature in your Zoom toolbar to submit any questions that you have to us, and we'll take until about 2 o'clock to answer as many as we can.
So we actually have a question here. It says, are any student ambassadors from the clinical psychology program?
That's a great question. We will be having some start. They're just not trained or anything just yet. So that is going to be something that comes in the coming months. So please keep an eye out on our website for those updates. It does take some time to get them in the door. So I know if you're doing even the doctoral program, which all of our ambassadors are actually going to be master's students this year, so it might not be applicable. But if it's for a doctoral program, the deadline is usually December 1st for doctoral programs, so it might not be in time. But either way, just continue to check. We're trying to get them in and started as early as possible, of course. And also just to know with your questions in the Q&A, Kiana and I unfortunately do not know the ins and outs of every single program here. So we can only speak to the programs we were involved in, as well as just general admission stuff and experience as a student. So we're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we can, but answer ones that are a little bit more general and more applicable to the group as a whole. If you do have program specific questions, I'm going to send a link to our admission website, which lists our admission liaisons on there. As I kind of mentioned before, our office has a liaison model, which they all oversee certain departments. So for example, clinical psychology falls under our counseling and clinical psychology department, which is overseen by Ashley Blasland. So that would be your go-to contact for any, program specific questions, things about your application, etc. So that's kind of an example. I'm going to go ahead and submit the link to that in the chat for you so you can kind of know who to connect to with program specific questions. Their email is listed right there. You can email them to set up a phone appointment or a Zoom appointment, or just converse over email for any questions that you have. And if you're ever confused about which department your program falls under, you're welcome to just reach out to our admission email. We can clarify that for you.
Another question we have here is someone would like to know about my personal experience about moving to California and New York. I would say the biggest thing from moving from California to New York is definitely grocery shopping. And I know Taylor has known this because this is like the number one thing I talk about each time, because coming from California, you have a car, so it's very convenient versus in New York, you kind of have to lug everything in the subways or the bus. But and also grocery shopping in New York, like Trader Joe's, is kind of like going to like a battlefield. But there's tons of different options. Like I Instacart, so I can get like stuff from Costco, because Costco is not that convenient from where I live. And also there's Amazon Fresh, and Whole Foods also delivers. So there's tons of options that you have. And another thing is I come from a very big and loud family. So like even though I lived in a small town, my family always had things to do. So coming to New York, I know a lot of people have like it's like loud and there's tons of people here. So that was something I was kind of already used to. But honestly, what I would say is that there's tons of things to do in New York, especially that are free. You don't have to pay like a lot of money to have fun. So I really recommend to, connect with your peers at TC, connect with clubs and at TC always have tons of things to do. I know sometimes they go to like the Brooklyn Bridge museums and all that stuff. So I really recommend just to put yourself out there. And I know it may be a little scary, but it's always a great adventure. So yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to the transition. I mean, even though I moved from somewhere within the state of New York, New York is a very different place than anywhere else. So it's definitely a transition for anyone who didn't live here, prior to, moving here, obviously. So Definitely take some time to getting used to, but it's like a once in a lifetime experience truly, and you don't get this type of environment or experiences provided by the city anywhere else. So it's a bit of an adjustment, but you eventually get used to it. All the noise, the walking fast, the hustle and bustle. It takes some time, but you do. Let's see. Got a little bit more of a program specific question about, completing a certain program within a certain amount of semesters. This is definitely going to be a question for your admission liaison. So definitely reach out to them, or even the program directly might be able to give additional specific insight as to how long it typically takes their students to complete the program, if there's any requirements to do it in a certain amount of time or not. So that's a good one there.
Right. It says, are doctoral programs only open to those who hold a master's, or can you apply right out of undergrad? And this one is about music education. So Owen, our other ambassador, is also in that program. So like Willer said, you can, if you want to like chat with him, you can with our TC student email. But I think some PhD programs do require a master's degree and some don't. Yeah. So what I would recommend is definitely use that tailor page, and you'll see all of the requirements needed.
Yeah, I'll link that program search page. This is really going to be a one-stop shop for pretty much anything you could need to know about the program you're interested in. You can just search it in the search bar and then click on the admission information part of the program, and it'll pull up things like the deadlines for the programs, which entry terms they allow. Not every program does spring, summer, fall entry. So very important to know what entry terms are available for your program. Additional requirements, if they require things like, I clicked on one I saw right away, which is the Doctor of Education and Adult Education Guided Intensive Study. This one says right there in the supplemental area, must hold a master's degree or 39 graduate level credits with a grade B or better or something like that. So they will oftentimes, if they do require a master's, they will list it right there. But in general, it's really good to go to this place, this website, our program search page, to see if your program requires something like the GRE or an academic writing sample, or if there's like a video essay component for some like our music stuff. So really a great place to go. And if there's any information that you can't find there, you definitely can reach out to the admission liaison of the program. We do not have a how do you even say this? Psychology doctorate program. What is that? I never know how to say it, but I do know we get a lot of inquiries about it. We do not offer those programs, unfortunately. Our highest doctoral program is, what is it? PhD is the highest. We do have Doctor of Education as well, but we do not have that, unfortunately, at this time. Cool. All right, please keep them coming. We definitely have 5 more minutes, and we'll get to, as many as we can. If you're in between programs, this is a really good question. Interested in 2 programs, whatever they are, any advice on how to go about making a decision regarding the fit between the 2 programs? I would reach out to the admission liaison of both programs. Clinical psychology is going to be one, and actually developmental psychology is in a different department. So they're going to be 2 separate liaisons for this specific case. But in general, I would always reach out to the liaison. Our liaisons really know more of the ins and outs of the programs and what type of student those programs are looking for, and the types of backgrounds they come from. So I think reaching out to them, you can get an idea of, based on your background and what your goals are and dreams are pursuing graduate education, which would be a better fit for you. So I definitely recommend going to that website I linked, which has our staff on it, and going to the contact information for the admission liaison of those departments. And then you can just kind of ask them a little bit more. All right, we'll leave a couple more moments for some more questions. I guess, before we see if any more pop up, Kiana, if you want to kind of maybe give a little anecdote, some advice to prospective students, maybe something you wish you knew in the application process, anything really that you want to provide our attendees here.
Something I definitely recommend is starting your essays early and also asking professors or anyone that you want for a letter of recommendation to basically start that ASAP, because a lot of times it will take them like months to do those, especially if they're so busy. So I really recommend to just kind of have like a list of like to do like a to-do list basically of like things that you need to do ahead of time, because trust me, we especially like towards the end, when things start getting busy, the holidays start coming around and everything, because everyone is always like, oh, I'll do that later, I'll do this next time, I'll email them, whatever, and then things start piling up, and then we get tons of emails being like, oh, like, can I still have a like extension or whatever, like when's the deadline for this? So I really recommend to be on top of things, and especially with like your essays and just kind of like your resume and getting everything together, it really does take time. But at TC we have a holistic approach, which I think is amazing, because we don't only just look at your GRE scores and your grades, we really look at you as a full person.
Absolutely. No, those are excellent words of wisdom, Kiana. We do have received by deadlines. So that includes things that are completely out of your control in some sense, like, if you need a course by course evaluation submitted for an international degree, letters of recommendation, things that aren't like the statement of purpose or resume that you upload yourself. Super important to be ahead of that and not leave it to chance for that to be getting to us, after the deadline, because we can't guarantee that your application will be reviewed if it comes in after the program deadline. So super important to give your recommenders, maybe at least a month, I would say, before the deadline. They adhere to the same deadline as you for the program. Same for getting those evaluations requested, and plenty of time. Course by course evaluations, those get West and ECE get swamped, so it's really easy for them to get an overwhelming amount of evaluations that need to be done. So definitely be on top of those things sooner rather than later to give yourself the best chance for admission review. We did have another question that we'll answer before we head out here. Is there no minimum GPA score or GRE score? That is correct. What Kiana said about it being a holistic review process is that we don't have a required minimum GPA or specific score on the GRE needed to be admitted to our school here. We really, as Kiana said, view the applicant as a person, like a whole person, and you are not just defined by your grades. The C you might have gotten in general chemistry, like myself, freshman year of college. You're not defined by how you did on the GRE. We look at everything and weigh it equally. So that's where things that you have the most control of, like the statement of purpose, where you're really able to give a voice to your application. So important that you spend good time, quality time crafting that and putting, really good effort into that, as we weigh everything equally here. All right, so that is it. We are at the 2:00 mark. We did it, Kiana. We did it in timely manner as well, which we love to see. Thank you all again for joining us today. It really has been such a pleasure spending some time with y'all. We hope this was helpful. Please reach out to either our admission inbox, or if you're looking to connect with Owen or Kiana or about their programs or anything student related, reach out to TC Student. But we're here to support in whatever way we can. Definitely recommend checking out our events page. I'll go ahead and link it actually as well. For other prospective student events we have coming up, like I mentioned, we have some open houses on the horizon. We have other virtual information sessions. We do a really lovely webinar called Crafting an Ideal TC Application. We are still in the process of confirming all of these events for the fall. So they're still being published as they get confirmed. So by no means is what's up there right now the final only available list of things that are going on. So definitely continue to check that out for any potential interested, webinars and sessions that come your way. So thank you all again. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever, and a great weekend. And we look forward to interacting with you all soon.